Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we return with round 13 of Season 2 of our F123 My Team Career Mode. Yes, this weekend we return here to my favourite track on the Formula 1 calendar. It's Circuit Spa Francorchamps. The Belgian Grand Prix returns once again, and I'm incredibly excited to be going to the race in just a couple of weeks' time there. But yeah, Belgium though, you know, so much history around this venue. One of the tracks that I really do love racing at as well inside F123, and far more importantly than that, some big upgrades coming onto the car over the last couple of weekends there. It's pushed us back ahead of Alfa Romeo and AlphaTauri there. We've got a lot more upgrades in the works though as we head in towards the summer break as well. Yeah, of course, if you missed out on our return to the French Grand Prix Le Castellet, would highly recommend going back and checking that as well yesterday. Championship wise, 7th still in the drivers table. It really is a battle now between myself and Oscar Piastri for best of the rest there. And you can see Aston Martin now starting to pull away a little bit in the constructors. But yeah, of course, if you're new around here, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed, of course. Daily My Team videos until we win that Formula 1 World Championship. But as we head into the Belgian GP, of course, another sprint weekend on the cards as well. So we need to try and have a good race out here. There we are then, returning to the iconic Spa Francorchamps venue, of course. Absolutely love coming back to Belgium once again, and hopefully we can try and have a good weekend out of it as well, of course. Yeah, like I said, I think we need to try and get to the summer break, and then we can really try and put our best foot forward, ready for the second half of the season. You know, a lot of big upgrades coming. You know, there's been quite a big development race as well going on between ourselves and a lot of the other teams. You know, that combination as well, of course, of our second drivers still really struggling. Hoping Liam Lawson can find a little bit more pace out of the car as the races continue to develop there. But what are we going to be able to achieve this weekend? You know, felt like we had a pretty decent run last season here. It was a fairly undramatic couple of races from Belgium, if you include the sprint. But maybe this season we can have a bit of a turnaround. Of course, it does just depend on what the weather's going to do. And as this is Belgium, trying to find out that is near impossible. Making our way through the final couple of corners then. Hopefully we can try and at least get a green score here as out of the final turn will go. Only green to kickstart the weekend. Right, and last but not least then is going to be our racing run as always. You know, felt like we've been able to get normally 2 of the 3 practice programs done throughout each weekend. I know I get asked the question sometimes as well. If I can't complete a practice program, I don't then go and sim it behind the scenes. It probably explains, you know, why we're not making as much progress up the field as we'd like to think we could be. But, you know, I think if we get some major rule changes come the end of Season 2, then we could see quite a big reshuffle of performance anyway, and that's really kind of what we're banking on inside this series at the moment. It does seem like the AI are very good at getting a lot of upgrades and developments onto their own cars in the early cycle of the game. You know, Season 1, Season 2, but of course with less and less upgrades to do later on in the game, the AI then tend to struggle, and that's where we can really come on strong. We're very much struggling for pace throughout the middle sector of the lap, but apart from that, we've done pretty well here as we make our way in towards the final couple of corners. Should be a purple score then on the race simulation run, of course, before we jump into qualifying here on Friday night. Out of the final turn we'll go. Yeah, 4/10 clear. That's a pretty good way to end our free practice. Right, here we are then, Friday evening from the Belgian Grand Prix, and of course now we've really got to try and deliver. We've been making it back into Q2 the last couple of weekends, but it's very much been on the cusp of Q2, so, you know, around my favourite track, I'd love to be able to kind of deliver just that little bit more and up the ante a bit. You know, not expecting a Q3 necessarily. I think just some of the top teams a bit too strong at the moment, but if we can get close, that could be really nice there, and a good way to head into the summer break, of course. Still feels weird saying going into the summer break rather than coming out of the summer break inside F123. You know, I would love for Belgium to resume its post as the first race back when Formula 1 returns at the end of August, but unfortunately at the moment that's just not possible. Over 220 miles now as we get down to the end of the Kemmel Straight, and now to attack the curbs. Those first laps felt like a pretty decent banker. I tell you, one team looking good, that's Alpine there. Ocon and Gasly both going purple in the early stages of Q1, but as we head up in towards the final couple of corners, where are we going to be able to stack up relative to them? Bit of a lock-up on the way in, but we cadence rate the car into the apex out of the final corner up towards the line. 42. We go quicker than De Vries and Stroll, but slower than Albon and Perez. Currently just about in the drop zone then as we get ready to start our final lap here of qualifying. P17 at the moment here in Q1, and I'm hoping we can use Spa Francorchamps to gain a bit of an advantage there as at the final corner will go. There we go. Haskar does peel out the way before we even make it into turn 1. I was hoping he could try and carry me up the back straight a little bit, but wishful thinking for the AI inside F123 would like to collaborate on that. A 10th up though already. As we head out of the first turn, we have really got to focus up. Times have continued to improve. We can see Logan Sargent at 42.2 is not enough to make it into Q2, so we need to try and find just a little bit more as we make our way in towards the final couple of corners. Be brave and don't nick the grass on entry, and that's a lot better than really mount that curb through the inside of the bus stop out of the final corner. 3/10 up. Is that enough for Q2? I don't know. I hope so. P16, we clutch up once again. There we go, Charles Leclerc fastest once more there, and look at that, Esteban Ocon P2, so Alpine really do have the pace this weekend. Lawson's first lap was very, very impressive there, but couldn't improve on the second, but we make it by a 1/10 of a second then. Alex Albon, I'm sure, again, a bit gutted not to be seeing Q2, but it looks like our battle is probably with the Alfa Romeos there and Nico Hülkenberg and his Alfa Tauri. Sergio Perez again, looking like he's struggling. Well, I am absolutely not expecting us to make Q3 here in Belgium, but if we can try and get a mid to high 41, could probably walk away still as a rather happy man there. Oscar Piastri all over the back of, I think that's Nico Hülkenberg just in front, so clearly the AI tripping over each other a little bit on their final runs, but now I want the slipstream. Come on, boys, work with me, please, Oscar Piastri. Give me a little bit of tow as we head down the hill. You love to see it. Thank you very much, Oscar. As that's not so great by Nico Hülkenberg. I would not recommend doing that in towards Eau Rouge, to be honest. If you're watching this video, that's what not to do. A little bit scrappy through Sector 2 there. Lost a bit of time trying to get around Zhou Guanyu, but a couple more corners to go. We did get a little bit of helpful slipstream from a couple of cars early on in the lap, so hopefully we try and carry that momentum. One of the Haas cars there might be Teo just in front of me. No, it's Lance Stroll as we make our way through the final chicane, try and leave it in second gear there, really rotate the car through nicely out of the final corner up towards the line. It is a big improvement of 41.7, but I've no idea where that's going to put us. P16 in the end, we gave it our all. Well, to be completely honest, I was impressed that we didn't run wide and spin at Pouhon on that lap there. That got a little bit ragged about halfway round, but yeah, Aston Martin, Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, Alpine, they're locking out the top positions come the end of Q2. We were less than half a tenth away from Nico Hülkenberg, so clearly the car has got some good potential here. But let's get into it though. Sprint race Saturday, 8 laps first of all here from Belgium.
Welcome to today's sprint. This is shaping up to be another fantastic weekend. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and the smooth operator Carlos Sainz completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Perez, Gasly, Ocon, Russell, Hamilton, Magnussen, Oscar Piastri, Norris, Stroll, Joe, Bottas, Hülkenberg, Mr. Monaco, Albon, Sargent, Teo Pourchaire, Liam Lawson, De Vries, and Yuki Tsunoda. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out.
Right, here we are then, on the grid, ready for the Belgian GP sprint race, and very, very much looking forward to this one. Feel like this is a good track with a lot of potential for action to happen here. 8 laps ahead of us, the shortest in terms of laps, of course, of the season, both for the sprint and the Grand Prix. Does feel very, very odd to be doing an 8-lap race on F123, but, you know, it is what it is. Hopefully we can continue to deliver. Gambling it on a set of softs. The Williams behind me have done the same, so hopefully this can come in clutch for us. Whoa, getting dive bombed by Alex Albon on the formation lap. What on earth is that? As we head through the final couple of corners, trying to get as much heat into the tyres as we can. Need to try and capitalise early on here. This sprint race is going to be all about making moves early on and trying to hang on throughout the second half of the race. I keep doing that. I did that last weekend in Le Castellet as well. I don't know what's wrong with me at the moment. We're waiting then on the grid for the 5 red lights. Lights out, and away we go then for the Belgian GP sprint race. Again, another ridiculously long hold on F123, but can we get to the inside down at turn 1? Yes, we absolutely can there, down the inside of a handful of cars at the first corner, side by side with Lando, Norris in his McLaren, as we try and put the power down off the corner, and looks like plenty of runners actually on a set of the soft stairs. One of the Red Bulls already has made their way past both Ferraris off the start of this race, so mega start by them. And I was going to start to wonder whether Ferrari had unlocked some potential in their car. Here comes Lando Norris, though, to the outside of me as we head up the Kemmel Straight. Can we try and defend there as the McLaren go very, very late on the brakes? But you know what? Whoa. He'd almost found the grip there around the outside. Had to try and squeeze me out on the exit, but I was never going to take that line down. And we will hang on then. Swap 4 places off the start of this sprint race then. Into P12 we'll go immediately. Okay, that was a great start, Mark. We got a nice little cheeky dive in towards that first corner, but of course we all know Belgium's so important when it comes to the DRS here, so trying to make sure we stay in the range of Sir Lance just in front of us as we make our way down through the Fanyas chicane. Just trying to keep it all clean and tidy, get the car up to scrub, but it really does feel at the moment like, you know, Alpine, Aston Martin, Haas have all unlocked great potential out of their car that we just can't seem to match at the moment, as Lando Norris seems to be another one trying to push on then as we head up in towards the final few corners. Has the McLaren car been able to find a run? Has he been able to kind of stall it and time it at the right time? No, not quite. We'll hang on then as we mount the curbs through the final chicane then to survive lap 1, but Max Verstappen leads the way. A much drier sprint race than we had last season, but we're still in the range of Stroll. Already then, Lance Stroll, maybe not with the same straight line speed that I was expecting from the Haas car. To the outside will go. See wheel to wheel there, 210 miles an hour, no DRS just yet, and the Haas has got a tiny bit more top end than myself. You know what, Stroll there, we're not brave on the brakes down the end of that chicane at the moment. Might be able to try and capitalise and switch him off of the next chicane, but not able to do anything. Right, well, DRS now enabled then here in Belgium. Are we now going to be able to try and get a run on Lance Stroll as he's only just hanging on to the range of Kevin Magnussen in front. In fact, he might just have dipped out of it at exactly the wrong moment there. Brilliant little switch as we head up through Eau Rouge and Raidillon. And there we go, clean around the outside of Lance that time round. And he did not have the DRS. So into 11th place we go. Then, of course, only the top 8 score points in the sprint races, don't forget. But Magnussen, I want to try and get closer to him. We are pushing. We are taking all the risks at the moment. And this is what I mean about those Alpines and Aston Martins. They seem to be taking a bigger and bigger step towards the front runners, and I think especially now, you know, with the likes of Logan Sargent moving out of Aston Martin, of course, and Oscar Piastri really now finding his feet within the team, we were never really going to be able to stick with them early on in terms of actual pace. It was just obviously the driver lineups they had weren't particularly strong. You know, maybe Magnussen's given Oscar some setup tweaks and things like that as well to help the car improve, but yeah, now I think, you know, we kind of spent those first 7 or so races very, very happy, you know, really getting everything out of the car and kind of things falling into place. Feels like the 6 or 7 since then have absolutely been the opposite case for us. As, yeah, Magnussen, Piastri there, sorry, and Gasly battling up the road. So unless they squabble, we might be locked in trying to defend this P11 to the flag. And defend it, we are going to have to do that. Huge snap of oversteer as we made our way out of the chicane. Side by side, with Lando Norris. That's scary. Three big moments in the space of 3 corners. All over the road at the moment. And suddenly, all those places I gained early on, absolutely gone there. Bottas now parks it in front of me. And we probably cooked the tyres in the process. Just because I lost those places does not mean I'm giving up on him just yet. So we'll try and get a run on Valtteri Bottas then this time round. Whoa, Bottas trying to do a... What was it? Perez against Stockholm, wasn't it? All those years ago back at Racing Point. Now we're going to be able to try and get a run around the outside of the Aston Martin. He's still trying to squeeze me. Look at that. By Valtteri Bottas. He's got some fire in his belly this weekend. Let's try and have a look around the outside. We haven't been particularly great on the brakes up here, but this time around we hook it up. Here comes Bottas again, though. We just don't have anything against the AI at the moment. Bottas and Zhou Guanyu both trying to line up a move. Side by side through Blanchimont. Just keep it between the white lines. Luckily, we've got some good competitive top-end speed still. As, yeah, tyre life is starting to go there as Bottas around the outside through the bus stop chicane. Good wheel-to-wheel battling with the Alfa Romeo car there. As I don't know, he must have got the DRS yellow at that speed. We'll slot back in as we make our way into the Turn 1 apex. Oi, come on. Keep it clean and tidy. 2 laps to go here from Belgium. The tyres have absolutely fallen off towards the end once more. I've massively overdriven the car early on in the stint, but I just feel like we're in such an uphill battle at the moment. It's to the outside of the Alfa Romeo will go once again, and this time around we'll swoop through even more comfortably. Stroll and Albon side by side up the road. Maybe if they keep doing that, there's an opportunity to get a bit closer again. Alright, final lap then of the Belgian GP sprint. It looks like Max Verstappen's still able to lead the way at the front of the field, but Alpine, what a car they brought this weekend, really does suit the low downforce, high top speed Spa Francorchamps as well, getting a little bit wide over the curbing through the first couple of corners. Albon's completely checked out in front of me, but it looks like we might just get Bottas out of the DRS range as well, which is absolutely critical on this final lap. We really have caused a bit of a train from us down to the rear of the field, but once again destroyed another set of soft compound tyres in a sprint race. In towards the final few corners though, Zhou Guanyu using all his batteries since an opportunity. That was scary. Zhou Guanyu thought he was going to absolutely send it there, but Max Verstappen will win Sprint Race Saturday here at the Belgian Grand Prix and will further extend his lead at the top of the championship, making our way through the final couple of corners. Bit of a slide there. Bit overcast around the venue, but it's P14 just.
And that's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
So let's review the updated driver standings. Max Verstappen should be pleased with his performance, making gains at the top of the table. The grid is set then, so that just leaves the race itself. Join us tomorrow where we'll be live with all the action. And until then, goodbye.
Well, there we are then, the end of the Belgian GP. Max Verstappen takes home the dub ahead of Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz there. Perez missing out on the podium, just not quite able to match our big three there. But Ocon beating out both Mercedes and Pierre Gasly there to the final points-paying position, and then both Aston Martins rounding out our top 10. Championship-wise, of course, we won't see much movement there from the sprint race today. Still 2 points clear of Oscar Piastri, but I feel that's a case of when rather than if we're going to lose that battle to him there. Alpine as well now tied with us in the Constructors. Of course, changeable conditions, though, predicted for the Belgian Grand Prix. Let's get into it.
Welcome then, as we take a step back into the nostalgic golden days of motorsport. Spa is unashamedly a throwback, and all the better for it. Climbs, drops, sharp turns, chicanes, sweeping high-speed corners, all while taking in some of the most beautiful scenery that Europe has to offer. This might sound like a travel brochure, but it's not. It's a race day. Welcome along to Spa Francorchamps for the Belgian Grand Prix. Spa Francorchamps then, a historic 19-corner circuit with a lap distance of 4.35 miles. There's over 100 metres of elevation change here, and with long stretches of the lap spent flat out, out. A good top speed will be vital for success. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position. Sergio Perez lines up alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Russell, Gasly, Oscar Piastri, Magnussen, Norris, Stroll, Albon, Sainz, Mr. Monaco, Joe, Ocon, Bottas, Hamilton, Sargent, Hulkenberg, Theo Pourchaire, De Vries, Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. And alongside me once again for coverage of today's race is none other than the great Anthony Davidson. Let's talk about Mr. Monaco. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
Well, here we are then, trackside ready for the Belgian Grand Prix, and changeable conditions. It's meant to go from dry to full wet and start to dry up again, because only the Belgian Grand Prix could deliver that kind of drama. Not going to gamble it on a set of softs, just in case that wet period takes a little bit longer to get here. Looks like basically everyone else is, though, so things are going to get very, very interesting around this venue. Want to try and score some points today, but really that's going to be so dependent on trying to dive our way early on. Sainz with some penalties as well, so there is plenty to play for. Ready then on the grid here for the Belgian Grand Prix, waiting on those 5 red lights. Lights out and away we go. They're in not a long hold at all for a big change actually on F123, and Zhou Guanyu reacting to that very, very well there. We'll try and get back down the inside of him as we make our way in towards the first corner, almost into the back of Magnussen. There is a little bit of contact side by side with Carlos Sainz, Esteban Ocon off of the corner there. And where's Ocon come through? Straight into P11, sorry, off the start then. So mega start by the Alpine driver there, as we'll try and use some battery on him as we head up the Kemmel Straight on lap 1. Looks like Charles Leclerc still leading the way at the front of the field, but here comes Carlos Sainz though to the inside of myself, and not really a lot again we can do in that situation there. Of course, AI all on soft compound tyres at the start of this race, and we need to know when that rain is predicted. That's not what I wanted there, as get the car down the gears either, all at the same time. Zhou Guanyu again trying to look around the outside. Let's try and get the right information. Right, okay, so that's good. So that means we've got a little bit longer then before the rain than I originally anticipated, because normally what will happen is if it's, you know, less than 15 minutes, pretty much from 15 minutes and under, the game will start telling you 10 minutes. So that works out nicely for me. Of course, that's still only 8-9 laps here around Belgium, but if the AI have to pit onto a set of, you know, another set of dry compound tyres before the wet period arrives, that could work out really nicely for us. You know, similar vibe to the Austrian Grand Prix a couple of weekends ago there, as that was sketchy. Side by side with Valtteri Bottas as we head up in towards the final couple of turns of lap 1. Whoa, the Alfa Romeo, they're just able to swoop by as Hamilton, of course, the Alfa Romeo's former teammate, trying to look past as well. And so really not a good start actually to this Grand Prix, losing a couple of places, but being on harder tyres. And we're hoping this race can come back to us there, as we're not going to give up battling with Lewis Hamilton. Really want to try and use him for the slipstream today, but yeah, we'll wait and see just how close we can actually stick to a Merc over the course of a lap here. The AI, I mean, on softer tyres, I know we struggled with it yesterday as well, but they just romp away from you through that middle sector there. Hamilton and Bottas running out with a 1.6 second advantage over myself there. That's going to come down immediately then, as the former teammate's going to go side by side through the final couple of corners. Of course, finished 1 and 2 in the championship a couple of times as well, remember. It's DRS now enabled, but that's really coming clutch for me, as we're at least going to get DRS for 1 lap. Are we going to see Lewis, though, get a run on Valtteri? I mean, there's maybe... I can't imagine there's that much bad blood between them. Bottas clearly feels differently to how I read from the outside there. Big old squeeze on Lewis Hamilton by the time they make it into the chicane, but Bottas will hang on. Yellow's out. Someone further up the road with issues. I think that might be the other Alfa Romeo, so brand new. Nope, might be a car behind us. It looks to be the Haas behind us then. Nico Hulkenberg out. Oh no, it's... I lifted off because I thought it was a virtual safety car, but it's nothing, and now I'm going to cost myself the DRS. As Hamilton side by side again with Valtteri Bottas. That is like Formula 1's equivalent of play to the whistle there. And again, no, this time around Bottas, sorry, doesn't hang on for the position that Hamilton will make it through Nick the Grass on the way into the bus stop. That was not going to do me any favours and cost us rotation both on entry and on exit. Can we try and get that gap under 1 second again to Valtteri by the time we make it out of La Source? It's going to be very, very close. Luckily now we've got the traction. Oh, that's really hurrying in then, so that really does us no favours, as it's Nico Hulkenberg, of course, in an Alpha Tauri car, not in a Haas. But yeah, it is Hulkenberg still out of the race. Kevin Magnussen trying to get his elbows out with Lewis Hamilton and Carlos Sainz just up in front, and although we might not be getting involved in the action early on, still a lot on show early on here in Belgium. His new personal best for the day as well, into the 144s. But yeah, now we're starting to stick close to these other cars, as to be honest, I'm praying the rain doesn't arrive, which is weird, because normally I want it on F123. Get a good run though on Bottas. I think we've got to try and make the move happen as we head out onto the Kemmel Straight. And there we go, should be able to complete that. I mean, the AI top end speed looking pretty competitive round here. Bottas won't quite be brave enough. I did have to give him the room because I thought he'd try and keep the nose at the inside. And now we've got a much taller order of Aston Martins and Mercedes to keep up with. There's Magnussen, he's on a set of mediums as well. That would explain his struggles. Charles Leclerc at the front of the field has absolutely romped away early on in this race, and really no looking back. We've seen Red Bull be so strong in race pace there that Charles Leclerc's really just decided this weekend he's not even going to allow him to flex their race pace muscles. But yeah, we're just sitting, I mean, it's getting more and more overcast lap by lap, so it won't be long before the rain appears, but trying to hang close to Lewis and Magnussen is just not happening. I reckon that rain's going to be here in just a second. I feel like I'm starting to see little sprinklings around the venue. Yep, there we go. Rain has arrived here at the Belgian Grand Prix, so it really did not take long. And just how quickly is it going to fall? Definitely was not the right way to go on these tyres at the start. Haven't done anything, Mark, but I get that we need to come in for a new set of the Inters. Track is getting incredibly damp incredibly quickly, so everyone just trying to limp round at the moment. And yeah, every car, I'm sure, is about to stream into the pit lane come the end of lap 8. Lap 7 even. DRS is now disabled though as well here in Belgium, so that rain has really come down incredibly quickly as we're just trying to nurse the car back round. Seen so many scenes of this before around the Belgian Grand Prix, where heroes are made and fortunes are lost in the world of Formula 1 there. But Charles Leclerc easily going to be the first car into the pit lane then, so you kind of get this weird accordion effect when you get these kind of conditions, because of course it basically spreads the field out, because the cars at the front spend less time on the dry tyres, obviously in the wet conditions, as a couple of cars feeling forced to stay out then. We're just going to try and limp our way into the pit lane, as that was rather ungainly. Yellow flag's out temporarily, but yeah, a few cars have had to stay out there then. Clearly teams reluctant to double stack. Red Bull have double stacked, and look how much Verstappen's lost. Perez was in front of him, and that's been an absolute disaster for them, so we might see a bit of a mix-up then up and down the field. But of course Red Bull, by being in that first pit stall, have lost out massively with Max Verstappen there. Hamilton heads out in front of him, so yeah, look at that, the Dutchman's lost like 10 places. As we head back out onto the circuit, we might be able to get a couple of freebies as well from those cars that have stayed out. Don't know how many it was, but yeah, this race suddenly, it's a lot more interesting, and I reckon we might see a switch to full wets. Just a handful of cars having to limp around the venue, but to be honest, I do feel bad for them. The fact some teams didn't want to double stack, but also works out wonderfully for me as the AI, I mean, look at this, reluctant to try and make a move, as 3 wide as we head up in towards Blanchimont again there. Max Verstappen's made up a load of places from that, and I'm Sully. Hang on to it. That was scary. Went into the back of Verstappen, I thought we were about to do the heroics. We've somehow not lost the wing, but a red flag has been brought out then. There's been even more carnage down at the final corner. There's been an absolute roadblock. And unfortunately, we can't see what's happened, of course, because red flags don't allow you to watch replays inside F123. But now it's full wet conditions, and the track's going to dry up again before this race is done. So that is kind of crazy. No, it definitely isn't ready for intermediates again. But suddenly now, we're down in P17 then, ready for the restart. The whole grid's been a bit jumbled up. 5 red lights. And it's lights out, and away we go. And another race. Well, we've had a red flag. Hopefully it's not going to break it like it did back at Canada. As what on earth's going on? We've got some cars on inters. What on earth is happening here as we'll get down the inside of about 10 cars by the time we get to turn 1 there. And Esteban Ocon as well is on a set of the intermediate compound tyres. George Russell has taken the lead of the Grand Prix there. So all that advantage that Charles Leclerc built up has been gone in an instant. But I wonder if that's the AI that couldn't pit originally, obviously got to the pit lane and put on the intermediates, and that's what's confused the game there, as Gasly, I've got 1 Alpine and Red Bull in front, 1 Alpine and Red Bull just behind me. By the time we make it into the chicane though, I reckon Lando Norris might be another one struggling as we make our way through, but, well, Belgium often delivers the drama, and boy is it doing that today. Tell you what though, Ocon, he's hanging on up there at the moment. Now that obviously all us full wet runners are kicking off a little bit of water off the racing line, Ocon's hanging on. Perez now trying to look past him, so I don't think he's got an advantage by any means, but surely when we have to pit again back over onto intermediates, Ocon could be out clear in front here as Charles Leclerc trying to make a move happen at the front of the field. Gasly trying to look around the outside of me. We'll go for a very, very robust defence, and nope, Ocon, he had a fantastic opportunity there. Could have been the Frenchman's 2nd victory in Formula 1, but he's gone and kissed goodbye to that immediately by peeling into the pit lane. We're up to 7th place, though, as Leclerc and Russell still duking it out. And I think Oscar Piastri is even involved in that battle at the front. So looks like we might not actually shift away then from these full wet tyres before the race is down and out. So that will explain why Ocon then finally did decide to bail out and peel into the pit lane. Perez to the outside of Sir Lance. I mean, I don't really feel like I'm quicker than any of these cars at the moment, but we're just kind of hanging on as they battle each other, as Lando Norris running up in P3, but Oscar Piastri having the absolute day of days. Can he get the podium that he probably ought to have had in the real-life British Grand Prix? Oh, yellow's out. One of the Haas cars going slowly. Less than 10 to go. Could we get another red flag or a safety car from that? Not too sure what they've done. They got an Alfa Romeo coming up behind them, so they've got to be careful, as that is a slide into turn 1 there. Really am struggling with rear locking now, but yeah, what's happened to that Haas car? Well, riding on board then with Teo Porchero to make our way down into Sector 3 then. Everything seems normal at the moment. He's not battling with another car, so does he make a mistake by himself? Does he pick up a rear puncture? Yes, he has. You can see there on the rear left, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he's picked up a puncture. That is very, very odd inside F123. So I didn't see him run over any debris, but must have done something to puncture that tyre, because there's no way they would have been used up life-wise. Don't start saying this, Mark. I don't like the changeable conditions towards the end of a Belgian Grand Prix. That just sounds like a big opportunity for us to lose some potential points here. But as we make our way through, could we still see that switch back to inters before this race is over? Or could we see the AI make the switch and just try and hang on? Well, Perez is slowly crushing dreams at the front of the field. He's got past Stroll. He's now found a way around Lando Norris. That was a big slide. Is he going to get Oscar Piastri in that Aston Martin before this race is over? We're just trying to defend for our life from Max Verstappen behind us at the moment, and of course is still only a 2-time Formula 1 world champion. Charles Leclerc with 1 to his name. 6 laps to go though. This is not feeling comfortable at the moment. We are so slow, because we went with a low downforce concept. It was probably too low downforce in the dry, so in the wet it's an absolute disaster. You can tell how much I'm concentrating on trying to keep the car on the road, because Max Verstappen now has lost places. Oh, that might be on the aggressive side there against Carlos Sainz. Pierre Gasly even, as Carlos Sainz now trying to look for a move. Verstappen's dropped back. Albon now back into the points late on in the day. 5 laps to go. We are suffering so much with rear locking. I've tried to move the bias around to see if that's going to help us here, but it just feels like an absolute fight to try and keep it on the road. Never mind defend positions at the same time there, as Sainz now dropping back. How have I suddenly got a 2-second advantage? That's concerning. 3 laps to go then here from Belgium, and basically all I'm doing every lap is trying to gain as much of an advantage as I can when we go up the Kemmel Straight. There we can get the gap up to about 1.5–2 seconds, and then we lose it all around the rest of the lap again. We haven't been under so much pressure though over the last couple, which has been good, but yeah, I think the rain, the AI need a bit of a rework around Belgium. I know I said that about Silverstone a couple of races ago as well, but they're ridiculously quick in some parts of the track that is absolutely not manageable for a human player. Pouhon, pretty much the rest of Sector 2 from Pouhon down to the bottom of the hill, you can't do anything against them, as we'll come through here. Down to the 4th gear, they're trying to keep it clean and tidy, get on the power as early as we dare. And you can see Sainz has taken a good half a second out of me. And then into here as well. Gasly's behind me, I don't care. Yeah, they definitely are a little bit OP still. I think Albon's really trying to give Sainz a run for his money here as we head back up the hill for the penultimate time. And we might actually go into the final lap here with a tiny bit of breathing room, which I tell you what, I cannot thank Alex Albon enough for. He says that, as we still have got to fight our own car into the final lap here, but Charles Leclerc at the front of the field. I tell you what, I was a little bit worried after that restart. In fact, he lost the lead to George Russell, because we've seen it a couple of times before, where an AI will absolutely dominate until a red flag and then get screwed over, and someone else will take the win, but over the sausage curb we go. That's not helpful. Try and get back out onto the circuit as best as possible. But yeah, Charles Leclerc today, though, no one has been able to get close to him. Of course, Max Verstappen managed to get past he and Carlos Sainz in the sprint race, but Charles Leclerc on Sunday took the lead and never looked back. Mark, we're on the final lap of the race, mate. We're not too worried about that anymore. We can't, well, we could pit, but it would be so stupid. But yeah, George Russell, though, very, very good P2 by the looks of it for him, as Sergio Perez has crushed Oscar Piastri's dreams of a first Formula 1 podium there. And it looks like the Aston Martin driver might come through for P4. We've got an engine warning light flashing up as well, but I tell you what, as we head into the summer break here inside F123, it has been a rough few races, I won't lie. You know, I say that and we took a win at Austria. But yeah, definitely have struggled on a couple of occasions. You know, should have scored points last time out in the Castellet. Still, yeah, not sure how I feel about those penalties that weekend, but you know what, as we round the final few corners here in Belgium, I think in the opening 13 races we've scored points in 9 or 10 of them, so we've not done too badly in that regard. There is making our way through the final couple of corners of this sprint race, just trying to keep the car on the island at the moment. This has been one of my toughest tests again inside F123. I don't know why Europe has suddenly been hit by so much flooding in the game, because Le Castellet last weekend was an absolute nightmare. Charles Leclerc wins the Belgian Grand Prix there and goes into the summer break with a little bit of momentum behind him. Looks like he's run out of fuel just as he crossed the line as well. But into the final few corners here, we're going to come through. It's a very, very lucky P7. Of course, we got taken out by Max and then got really lucky off the restart. But 7th is 7th, and I'll take the 6 points.
And here's our winner, pulling their Ferrari into Parc Fermé after a fantastic race. Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
Rain always has the potential to liven up a race and mix up the order, and they've taken full advantage of that to claim the victory today. It's always a bit of a lottery when the conditions are like this, but they've managed to stay on circuit and have come out on top.
And here we are, a team that is no stranger to the podium, taking their place on top once again. A sublime race today, and a stunning win for Ferrari. So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. Our championship leader is still sat at the top of the standings, but their rivals have made up some solid ground today. Let's focus on the driver of the day, Anthony Davidson. Who do you pick?
I have to give it to Mr. Monaco. They did a great job at getting the most out of their tyres without losing pace, something that's a very handy skill to have in modern-day Formula One.
Let's move on to the constructors. It was a tough race for our championship leaders who lose ground at the top of the table. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time out? Be sure to join us once again as we continue to bring you all the excitement of Formula One.
Well, there we are then, the end of another crazy Formula 1 weekend, this time around here from Belgium. Charles Leclerc, after 50 minutes of racing, will walk away victorious. George Russell, ahead of Sergio Perez there, Piastri, Norris, Stroll and myself, with Albon claiming that P8. Means 8 cars from 8 different teams inside your top 8 there. Helped a lot, of course, by the pit stop strategy that came into effect. Théo Pourchaire finishing last there. Of course, he was the driver that had some issues. Nico Hülkenberg, the only car not to make it to the checkered flag. And Lawson, again, a bit disappointed with that in P20. When are we going to see the Kiwi try to build some momentum there? Sainz, though, heads into the summer break just 1 point ahead of Sergio Perez. But George Russell, in a similar fashion to what he did in real life 2022, picking up the points, getting the job done, and Charles Leclerc now as well, after a couple of really good races, bouncing back, now ahead of Hamilton as well there. Oscar Piastri now jumps myself. I think it's going to be a real tall order to try and stay ahead of the Aston Martin in the second half of the campaign there, but Norris ahead of Ocon and Pierre Gasly there as well. Any of the movers further down? I guess Stroll with some big points on the board, but apart from that, nothing too exciting there. And Red Bull heading to the summer break, a 69-point lead over Ferrari. Could we again see a Red Bull upset come the end of the year? They're Aston Martin streaking away now. I don't think we can really do anything against them unless we get a decent second driver in the car. But thank you all so much for watching this video as always. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed as well, and we will be back when Formula 1 returns next time out, ready after the summer break for the Dutch Grand Prix.